Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Southeast Ohio Sports Talk. I'm Ben Spicer, sports reporter for the Portsmouth Daily Times, joined alongside Kevin Colley, sports editor here at the Portsmouth Daily Times. We've got an exciting week of high school football ahead. We're calling it Statement Week, several big games for schools involved in the area. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about several other schools who are ranked in other sports across the area. First off, Northwest boys soccer received votes for the Division III poll. It's about time.
Yeah, really.
I really think that they should be ranked.
Yeah, they should be in the top five in the state in D3, in my opinion.
Wheelersburg girls soccer is ranked number 7 in the Division III poll that came out Monday. Notre Dame volleyball ranked number 20 in the Week 2 volleyball coach poll for Division IV. Now that's from last week. And then the football teams that are ranked in our area, Wheelersburg is number 4 in the AP Division V poll, and West is number 7 in the AP Division V poll. All those teams that we mentioned have had great seasons so far. For the football teams, they're really going to get challenged this week. And I think a game that we need to look at first that doesn't involve West and Wheelersburg, but affects those two teams certainly, is Waverly traveling up to Nelsonville-York. Both of those teams are undefeated heading into this game. Nelsonville-York, they're number 10 in the AP Division VI poll. They've scored an average of 49.5 points in the last 2 games. They've won 6 straight home games. They haven't lost at home in over a year. Their last home loss was last September, a 41-21 loss to Trimble. Their opponents have faced a combined record of 7-9 overall this season, and they're led by their quarterback, Garrett Maiden. He had a big season last year. He's looked very good this year. Had 5 passing touchdowns in their last game, including a 60-yard rushing touchdown. He's getting it done everywhere. And last year he kicked field goals for them. So yeah. Nelsonville-York has a great leader in Maiden, and just looking at some of his highlights, you see what he's capable of. It's going to be a tough task for Waverly's defense, who has been kind of up and down at times this season.
Yeah, Maiden's definitely going to be a guy that's going to be contention for first team All Southeast District honors, and probably an honorable mention All State if the AP decides that they'll do that this year. He was dominant against Medford and just rolled right into that last week against River Valley, making things look very easy. The thing with Nelsonville-York that has concerned a lot of people from what they see in scrimmages is their line play. From what I was told from coaches that I have talked to, is that the line play for Nelsonville-York was very, very average at best. And if Waverly brings some blitz packages, I think that can actually overcome Maiden's abilities in the pocket, outside pocket with some pressure. I look for them to throw some different blitz packages in there and do some things that will make him a little bit uncomfortable.
When you look at Waverly, they're a team that certainly hasn't had any problem scoring on their own. Just looking at some of their numbers, they won every game by double digits, winning games by an average margin of 15.5 points, averaging 37.3 points per game, and 440 yards of offense per game. They're definitely led by their quarterback, Clayton Howell. He's been spectacular this season. But not only just Howell, they've got several weapons beyond him in the backfield. They've got Drew Kritzweiser, of course, that great running back. And in the receiving core, they've got 3 great guys who have really stepped up. Easton Wolf, Kobe Marquez, and Kane Jordan. All those guys have been great contributors to Waverly so far this season. But I want to talk a little bit about Howell, and he's really impressed me. I know we were talking before the show about maybe doing an awards show next week, just for a little spoiler there. And I think Howell is perhaps the best quarterback in the SOC, maybe even better than Trent Salyers. We'll have more on that to come. But what do you think about Clayton Howell and what he does for Waverly? And do you think he can give Waverly a chance to beat Nelsonville-York?
I do. What's crazy about it is he's probably a better baseball pitcher than he is a single hauler. I think that's where his future lies in college. But he's just an outstanding. Generally, he's a great leader, and that's what those are intangibles that you have to have at the quarterback position. Waverly's as successful as it is now because Chris Crabtree has developed the program, but after that, it's because Clayton Howell is such a great leader out there on the football field. I mean, the offense putting up the numbers they have against a great Fairland team, scoring 46 points on them. Fairland's defense has been pretty good. I mean, it held Wheelersburg to 37. I mean, it says something about Waverly's offense. It says a lot about Clayton Howell's abilities when you can score 46 points on a very much improved Fairland team that looks like they might be the favorite in the OVC.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game to pick. We'll have that one moving forward when we do our picks for the week. But for now, we're going to talk about another big game. You just mentioned those Wheelersburg Pirates. They're traveling to Jackson. Both of those teams are 4-0. And when you look at the Jackson Ironmen, That name really suits them well. Their defense has played well this season, but their offense has looked good as well. Checking out some of their stats, they're number 10 in the AP Division III poll, averaging 37.3 points per game, and their average margin of victory is 30.5 points per game. They're allowing just 6.7 points per game on average. They've shut out 2 of their opponents, but their opponents do have a combined record of 8-8, so they've played some quality teams. They last beat Wheelersburg in 2014, 27-0. That was Berg's only regular season loss that year. Wheelersburg has won 4 of the last 5 since the teams began playing annually in 2012. I think worth mentioning Jackson, we talked about their defense as well as their offense. They've got a pretty good kicking game as well. When you look at their highlights, they've got a kicker that's put it in the end zone on about every kickoff. So I think that could be a factor in this game if it comes down to it in a close possession game.
Yes, I think they have explosive skill players on the offense side of the ball that will put it in range for Jackson to be able to convert on field goals if, Wheelersburg is able to bow up like it was against Bishop Watterson last week and stop the Ironman offense. So, it's definitely going to be a tough fight again. Talking to Coach Woodward after the game, it was like, it's great that we beat Bishop Watterson, and the preparation for the week was wonderful. I mean, it was outstanding. We really raised our level of play, but we've got to do this, come out and put that same level of effort to beat a Jackson squad that has shown year after year that it will contend under Andy Hall. The talent that they put out there has been outstanding.
Yeah, I think that says a lot for the program at Wheelersburg. Even though they got that big win over Bishop Watterson, Coach Woodward said, hey, I'm looking forward to next week. We're not celebrating now. We're looking forward to next week, taking things a week at a time. And that just goes to show you how Wheelersburg has come as a program, and they're just always ready for the challenge and what's up next. So looking at those Wheelersburg Pirates, they've put up some outstanding statistics themselves. Just checking it out, they're number 4, as we said earlier, in the AP Division V poll. They're averaging 43.3 points per game and only allowing 6.5 points per game. Their opponents, though, I guess you could say they've been a little bit of a struggle this season. They have a combined record of 3-13, but I don't think you can hold that against Wheelersburg. They've been outstanding this year. They've got 2 more opponents, which we've already discussed, Waverly, but West is currently undefeated, Portsmouth West. They're 4-0, so we could have some interesting matchups later on in the season. But let's talk about this game now against Jackson and Wheelersburg heading into this game. I think they're the favorite here.
Yeah, I've got Wheelersburg. I mean, everybody brings up the record, like you said, but the fact of the matter to me is Bishop Watterson played Owen Tangy Orange to a 23-0 score. I mean, that's obviously the game was not running clock. I mean, it was competitive all 4 quarters. Wheelersburg had it 30-3 by the beginning of the second quarter, and really the only set of momentum that Bishop Watterson had in that game. Got a long kick return, set Bishop Watterson up with a short field interception, thrown into double coverage that was probably underthrown. If it's not, could have gone for a big gain or a touchdown. Sets up Bishop Watterson with a short field. That's 10 of the 17 right there. Then they had pulled off a 66-yard trick play on one play that also set them up with a short field. So 3 of their drives came off 3 big plays that Watterson made. Watterson maximized their opportunities to score, and Wheelersburg while doing all that, Wheelersburg still beats them by 30, becomes only the 3rd team in the Millennium. Picked Central in 2011, and last year Bishop Hartley, who won a state title, did it. They're the only 2 schools to have done it. The Bishop Watterson program is competitive year in, year out. Whatever way you slice it, this is an impressive victory. I mean, it's as impressive as any I've seen. Wheelersburg's the best football team best high school football team I've ever seen in person. Myself in my young life, I've not seen a team better. They're going to go a really long way.
And I think the reason for their success, not only among all the factors that have sparked their success this season, I think one of the biggest one is the Trent Sawyers and Tanner Holden connection. Just looking at some of their numbers, Tanner Holden 27 receptions on the season, 641 yards and 10 touchdowns. Trent Sawyers has 1,149 passing yards and 12 touchdowns. But it's not only just them, it's the entire offense when they've got interchangeable pieces at every position that they can sub in and just have no drop-off in talent. I think that says a lot for the program.
Well, to add on to that, too, the rushing defense, I've never seen a better rushing defense in high school football. I mean, opponents are getting 1.3 yards per carry. I mean, that is so big when you can make opponents one-dimensional like that. Then when you have takeaways and Tanner Holden's returning a 59-yard interception return trying to house and you got 7 guys that are turning around blocking for him. So when he gets to the 40-yard line, he can coast the rest of the way. He didn't have to run; he just jogged the rest of the way to the end zone. I mean, when you have guys that are that smart and that well disciplined IQ-wise, in addition to the talent level that they obviously bring with their athleticism and their size and their strength and the way they fire off of the football, I mean, there's no telling where this team what it can do come November and December. I know they'll be playing well through December in my estimation.
Yeah, it's nice to have that selflessness on the team, just everyone looking out for everyone else. That says a lot about their coaching staff and about the players on the team as well, I think.
It does.
So we've got one more game to talk about that's kind of got big implications on the rest of the season, and it's a road game for Portsmouth West. They're traveling to Kentucky to take on the Raceland Rams, and you talked about Wheelersburg's defense. Raceland's defense has their own nickname. How cool is that? The Orange Crush is what they call themselves. And I think it's a deserving nickname, just looking at some of their stats. They've shut out 2 of their opponents, Greenup County being one of those, my alma mater, so that one hurt. They've allowed an average of 7.8 points per game, and they're averaging 28 points per game. They were shut out against Ashland 14-0 in their lone loss of the season, but statistically they have one of the best defenses in Kentucky 1A football. Entering that Valley game, they were only giving up an average of 56 yards per game through the air in their first 4 games. They had held Valley to 80 total yards of offense. I mean, Gabe Streeter scored on an 83-yard kick return to open the game. That was more than the Valley offense managed to put up the entire game. This Raceland defense is legit, and their offense is good enough to win them games. Damon Webb, the quarterback, and Judd Atkins leading the way with several big scores for the Rams this season. What do you think about this matchup in terms of Raceland's side of things?
Yeah, Raceland hasn't given up, like you mentioned, the defense hasn't given up a touchdown in 14 quarters. I mean, that says it all. They have that week 1 game against Ashland was the only time that the defense really broke down, and that was more week 1, new guys on the offense. You had Damon Black back there at QB, and it's a new quarterback. Nathaniel Davidson had been starting for 2 years. And then Joe Atkins, the running back, he had been kind of a bit player last year. He was kind of 34th string running back. They had a 3-set running back tandem last year that they could kind of depend on. That was more about that really than the defense. They're lights out. I mean, they're going to be as tough of a defense as you'll find anywhere. And their fans and the whole program is just the community really. I don't, outside of a couple, I don't really know a community that rallies around its football team like Raceland does. It is the heartbeat of that town. It really is. Yeah,
it's definitely safe to say. So it's going to be a tall task for the Senators, who are heading into this game at 4-0 on the season. A little bit of surprise out of Portsmouth West for them to have this much success this season. They've looked great, though. And I think we've got to talk about their defense as well. They were number 7 in the AP Division 5 poll. They're allowing an average of 11 points per game and scoring an average of 27.8 points per game. They've given up just 6 points in each of their last 2 games, and they're kind of led by their running back, Garrett Hurd. He's at 77 rushes this season, 439 yards, 5.7 average per carry, 5 touchdowns. I would say he's the catalyst for Portsmouth West's attack, and they're definitely going to need him against Raceland.
Just a very tough physical runner. I mean, he has a diminutive frame where he can just kind of hide behind linemen and he bounces off and just keeps his legs driving and pushing like a good running back does. And you have him and Josh Berry gets about 6 yards every time he touches the football on a run, and his ability to go out and catch passes from Dylan Bradford really makes that offense what it is, and it simplifies everything, makes everything so much smoother for West. It's really Bradford, Berry, and Hurd that touch the football, but every time they touch it, they do good things with it. So you really don't need anybody else to touch it when those 3 every time they touch the rock are doing something excellent with it. The defense for West has been excellent too. You talk about a Wellston program that's improved under a new head coach, and held Wellston to 6 points. They scored on a late touchdown with 2:05 left against the second team. I mean, they were going into a shout too in a running clock situation. They, scores on the second team. I mean, you're talking about another program right there that could give Raceland some big trouble. And I love the matchup. I mean, Damon Black likes to run with the football, so if they can get some pressure on Black as he's trying to move out of the pocket and get upfield like they have done a great job with Jacob Gilkey and Brandon Weaver and some of their other big linemen, Kane Lewis, guys like that. I think it'll be a one-score ball game throughout. I mean, it will really be tough to tell who will win this matchup, but I don't think Raceland will have a whole lot of success offensively because that's how strong the West defense has been all year.
We've got plenty of great games to choose from this week in our Pick'em Challenge, but before we get there, because we've got to build some suspense up a little bit, we're going to go ahead and talk about our top performers. So go ahead with yours for this week, Kevin.
My first one, because I made a boo-boo and I forgot about it last week, is Taylor Coleman signing with Kentucky Christian. Taylor, congratulations. The story about Taylor was in last Wednesday's edition of the Portsmouth Daily Times. Outstanding young lady, very humble, the ace of the staff for West Side from a softball standpoint. Collected a 4.12 ERA last year. Look for that to improve even more this year. She already looks like she's put in a ton of work during the off-season. 3-sport athlete, plays volleyball, going to play girls basketball this year, and then in addition to softball. I know her mom, being the head coach Danny Coleman, and then seeing her own daughter sign, it was great. It was a very emotional day for her and the entire family. So. I want to wish them congratulations. It's well deserved. I know Danny and Mike Payne, the pitching coach out at West, have done an excellent job getting Taylor ready for college ball, and Dave Miller is building up a good program at KCU by getting athletes like Taylor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Taylor can do in Grayson, a town that's very familiar to me, and seeing what they can do with that program as they try to build it up in NAIA level. The next one is Aiden Fields, getting 1,000 kills and becoming the first player ever in Portsmouth high school history to do that was outstanding. Aiden is very well deserving of the honor. Another humble athlete that has put the team first. I really liked the approach that she had during the match against Colgrove. Didn't try to hog the ball or try to ruin other attack attempts for her teammates. Just waited patiently for her time and let the game come to her. And that's what you have to do. You have to play within a team mindset no matter what milestones you're chasing. So I really not only admire Aiden getting the 1,000 kills, but I admire Aiden more for the team mindset that she showed in getting the 1,000 kills, not wanting to her other teammates who did an outstanding job, especially with serving the rock that last Tuesday against the Hornets. And then lastly, I mean, it sounds like a broken record because it is, but Wheelersburg's football program to hold your opponents, I mean, to less than 30 total points in 4 games is unlike anything I've ever seen. Last week was one of the most special performances I've ever seen it on a football field. It really brings goosebumps it brought goosebumps to me seeing how much how dedicated this team is and how team oriented they are. It really showed against Bishop Watterson. Coach Woodward was really high before the game on how his team had prepared, and it really showed Friday evening. I mean, it was a complete physical, mental, emotional domination by Wheelersburg in every aspect. It could have been a lot worse than a 30-point blowout, I'll tell you that. I mean, it could have been a shutout, but you take 3 plays away. I mean, it could have really been a shutout. They were just lights out. It got them some situations where they faced adversity. They came out of it each time, getting some big stops that forced Watterson into field goal attempts, and ended up, Bishop Watterson cuts the lead to 14. They persevere. Sayers, as he's shown all season long, for amazing poise for a first-year quarterback, starting quarterback at the position, goes down and leads Wheelersburg on a 70-plus yard scoring drive, and the game's over. I mean, it's just an outstanding football team that's mentally, physically, emotionally prepared in every aspect. The players from 1 to 90 take it completely serious, and it's just awesome to see a team like that on the football field. It really is.
I've got to give a shout out for my top performer to a team from the SOC1, the East Tartans. They played a complete game against Green, and they looked very good on defense. They held the Bobcats to just 25 total yards of offense, and Green came into that game. We all expected them to run the wishbone. That's what they've done throughout the season. But because of limitations, they came in and ran primarily out of the pistol formation. They used that all throughout the game, but East was not phased, and they looked great at all levels of their defense as well as a team. They really played very well overall, and I think they're definitely the favorite in that conference moving forward the rest of the season. I do also have to give a shout out to Clayton Howell, Waverly quarterback. We talked a little bit about him earlier on in the show, but what he did against Fairland was just outstanding. 23 of 27, 350 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, and what was a complete team game for the Waverly Tigers. Once again, I've said it earlier on in the show, I think Howell could potentially be better than Trent Salyers at the end of the season. We'll see when Waverly and Wheelersburg face off, though. But for now, we're going to look at some of the football games for this week in our area and make our picks. We've got some great ones that we're going to have to pick. Looking at how we did last week, though, Hunter is not on the program today to join us, unfortunately. Hopefully he's at home getting his chores done like he said he had to do. So he ended up going 9-2 last season. Kevin, you went, or last week, not last season. Kevin, you went 10-1 last week, and then I finished 11-0 last week. So how about that? If only I could translate those picks to the newspaper where I don't make the same picks. I think I spent too much time on the newspaper picks thinking about it, and here I'm kind of forced to make a decision as I go. So I'm going to have to start bringing that mentality to the newspaper picks as well. But for this week, first off, we want to start with Southeastern traveling to Piketon. Now, Southeastern is 4-0 in this game. Piketon is 1-3, got their first win of the season last week. I don't think Piketon has a chance in this one. It's just kind of crazy how high we were on Piketon early in the season, and now they've kind of dropped off. But I think it could be competitive, but I just see Southeastern taking this one.
Yeah, explosive, big, ton of experience back. Yeah, I'm going Chillicothe Southeastern. Piketon's got a ways to go to get back into playoff contention here.
So we talked about Piketon getting their first win of the season last week. Northwest is still looking for their first win. They're 0-4 this season. They're traveling to Eastern to take on the Eagles, and this is going to be a fun, exciting matchup, I think, between these two schools. I'm going to have to go with Eastern, though. The Eagles' defense, I think, is just too tough for Northwest.
I'm going to go with Eastern. I do think the game will be close. Northwest has shown some strides. They played better against Memphis. They played better against Huntington, which you saw firsthand. The offense has gotten better. The defense is getting better. I do think it will be a 2-score game or less. I think Northwest can play with Eastern, and I look for it to be an entertaining game. But I think at the end of the day, Eastern will control the line of scrimmage with the big guys that they have up front.
I think most of all, what Coach Monavon and his staff are hoping for is that they'll be in a game in the fourth quarter where maybe they have a chance of coming back and winning a game, hopefully, for Northwest on that side of things. This Saturday, we've got a showdown at Spartan Stadium. Oak Hill coming to town to take on the Notre Dame Titans. The Oaks are 3-1 on the season. They've looked pretty good, and I think I'm going to have to go with the Oaks. They have a great balanced attack on offense, and I think that they're going to be too much for Notre Dame.
I think Oak Hill as well. Notre Dame's offense has actually been very good. They fumbled, it's had several would-be scoring drives, stymied by fumbles and mistakes inside the 40-yard line. But Oak Hill's defense is just very, very talented. This is probably the best Oak Hill team since 2011, 2012, easy. They've put up some very good defensive numbers, and they've got a good offense led by Caleb Johnson, who hasn't really have been able to showcase his skills because they've dominated with the running game as evidenced in past weeks. So I look for Oak Hill to win pretty handily in this one.
Oak Hill kind of exposed Sims Valley last week, got a big win over the Vikings. They're the subject of our next game, the Green Bobcats. We talked about them earlier and in our top performers on the negative side of things, but now on the positive side, they've got a chance here on the road at Sims Valley. Green has just struggled with a lot of injuries, though, so I think I'm going to take the Vikings and Rusty Webb's squad to improve to 3-2 on the season in this one.
I'm going also with Sims Valley to get back to its winning ways against the Bobcats. Green got an excellent win against Sims Valley last year, but with the injuries like you mentioned, it's just so hard to compete when you have 21 players and 6 of them at least are out there on the sidelines hurt or more. I'm going to go with the Vikings also.
The tough part for Green was losing 3 running backs as well as 3 offensive linemen, so it's hard to run the wishbone under those circumstances. So we wish Coach Newsom and the Bobcats the best moving forward.
Yeah, he's working his hardest, that's for sure.
He definitely is, and he's got some tough kids. That's definitely for sure.
Yep.
Freshmen coming in and filling positions and stuff for the Bobcats, so that's always good to see. Next up, now this is a surprising result last week. Gallia Academy, a team who's went 1-9 the last 2 seasons, is now 2-2 after they beat Chesapeake.
Yes.
And this week they're going to host Portsmouth.
Yeah.
So you talk about one of the most interesting games on the slate. All those great matchups that we have, I think this one has the potential to be a great game because there's going to be a lot of excitement in Gallipolis for this Gallia Academy team. I think Portsmouth is going to be able to go in, though, on the road and get a big win. They definitely need it moving forward if they hope to make the playoffs.
They do. I've got to go with Gallia Academy because I have to see if Portsmouth can throw the ball a little more efficiently. Honestly, the passing stats against Rock Hill, they barely eked out a Rock Hill team that was held to -4 yards passing. That might not get it done against the Gallia Academy, especially, with Portsmouth, having to rely on Isaac Kelly so much to run the football with, Gallia Academy putting 11 in the box against Chesapeake. Austin Browning went off. I mean, he ran for over 200 yards against Gallia Academy, and Gallia Academy still won by two scores. If somebody doesn't, have a breakout game for Portsmouth, I don't. The Gallia Academy looks really improved. I just don't see the Blue Devils losing at home. They were able to beat Chesapeake at home, and Chesapeake had looked like it had handled its business coming up against Gallia. I have to go with the Blue Devils here.
There's definitely going to be a lot of excitement in the stands for that game in Gallia Academy. A lot of their fans are going to be definitely excited to see that matchup. So next up, we've got Manchester traveling to Sciotoville to take on the East Tartans. Second home game of the season for East, and they look very tough against Green. I think they're going to continue that success against Manchester.
I do too. Brady Douthit has been excellent at the quarterback position and has really managed the game well. And then they've got so many different guys they can put back there at running back at different times. Kyle Flannery, Ethan Carver, Ethan Gifford, Devin Stevens all can take carries, and J.D. Hatcher out there on the edge, and Braden Haney on the defensive side of football with his dominating production as usual. East is going to roll in this one probably by a running clock.
Brady Douthit, fan of the program, by the way. He reached out to me and said he really liked the show, so we hope he's watching this week. He said he's tuned in every week, so thanks, Brady, so much for tuning in.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man.
We wish you the best of luck this week against Manchester. Right. Moving forward, Memphis is going to host Williamsburg, and this is a fun game to watch. Memphis 2-2 on the season. I think they're going to get back to 3-2 and continue their winning ways in this game.
Yeah, Williamsburg struggled against some similar opponents to Memphis. I agree. I think Memphis continues its role. They've really picked it up offensively, and they found some things throwing the football that Jesse Ruby's been able to exploit. I also have the Falcons come out with the win.
Our next game is Valley traveling to Kentucky to take on the Fairview Eagles. And a lot of sports writers, not us because we cover Ohio sports, I'm not going to mention any names, but in Kentucky, a lot of sports writers were really high on the Fairview Eagles this season. They're 2-2. Mm-hmm. Do you think Valley has a chance to come in and sneak and get a victory? I'm going to go with Fairview, but I think it could be a close game.
This is a tough one because Fairview has very talented skill position players. They always have, but their line's been banged up. They haven't really been the same. Alex Roy, Antoine Washington, the group that came out and graduated in 2016, that was kind of the last time they really had some legitimate, talent, that game-breaking talent that could really, lift Fairview above the pack. I'm going to go with Valley here. Valley's shown improvement this year on both sides of the football, and I think Andrew Shope and Tanner Spradlin will hook up multiple times for big gains and big yardage. And Gabe Streeter is obviously a big-time athlete. Anywhere you put him on the field, he's a threat to score. So I think those three in particular will star as the Indians emerge with the victory by a couple scores. I'll
tell you one thing, once they are able to establish Gabe Streeter on the ground, look out, because he's been dangerous all over the field, but they haven't really been able to get him involved in the running game. Once they do, watch out, because he is a special athlete, and I think he's going to have a great season. He already has had a great season, but continuing on, I think he'll have a great year for the Valley Indians. So we mentioned those big games at the start of the show. Now it's time to pick those big games. And we're going to start with Waverly at Nelsonville-York. This is a tough matchup, but for the sake of the SOC, I'm going with the Waverly Tigers. What about you, Kevin?
Yes, I'm going with Waverly. Waverly's offense has been outstanding. Their defense is not as good as it was last year, but it's solid enough to bend but not break, and that's going to give you enough to give you W's most weeks. And I see the same thing against Nelsonville-York. Again, if they mix up the blitz packages and get some pressure on Garrett Maiden, I believe that they will. They'll come out with a comfortable 2-3 score victory over Nelsonville-York.
I think we know where we're going to go with this one, but just for the sake of putting it on there, Wheelersburg traveling to Jackson, and both teams undefeated heading into this game. But Wheelersburg has impressed both of us,
Yes.
I know, all year. Haven't really got a chance to look at Jackson that much, but they're impressive on paper. I don't think Jackson has a chance, though, in this game against Wheelersburg.
No, Wheelersburg, toughest test they beat by 30 points, and Jackson's not is more one-dimensional than Bishop Watterson is. While they do have a ton of talent, and Andy Hall has done an excellent job, I think Coach Woodward's boys will be ready for the test once again, and will continue to show people why, come the end of the season, why they're going to be a favorite to take home the whole hardware for the first time since 1989.
Well, we had Wheelersburg as our game of the week last week, so this week we went with Portsmouth West traveling to Raceland to take on the Orange Crush. I just love that name. I had to say it one more time on the show. And that stout Rams defense, a tough opponent in the Raceland Rams. I think I'm going to go with Raceland over Portsmouth West, but it's going to be a close game. And if you like old school football, this is the game for you to go see on Friday night.
Yes, I could not agree more with Ben from the statement about the old school football contest affair to his pick. Raceland's just very, very tough to beat at home. And West knows this. I mean, Ben Johnson is an excellent football coach, an excellent mastermind of the X's and O's, and they're going to be prepared. I just think Raceland is just going to have a little bit too much offensively. I think Damon Black will have a fairly big contest. He's been improving every week throwing the football. Judd Atkins has been very good running the football. He's shown that he's more than just a back that can take 5-6 yards a carry. He's been a 20 carry per game guy. But West is going to be in it the whole game. It's going to be knockdown, drag out, but I think Raceland emerges by a touchdown in this one.
Yeah, it's going to be probably the most fun game to watch of the week, especially if you like those hard-hitting, pound-em, old-school style football games, like I said. We thank you guys so much again for tuning in to this episode of Southeast Ohio Sports Talk Statement Week in high school football. And once again, thanks for joining us. We hope you'll join us throughout the rest of the season and next week. Thanks again so much for the shares and the support. We really appreciate it. For Kevin, Colley, I'm Ben Spicer. Thank you for joining Southeast Ohio Sports Talk.